Hey, hey, everybody. How are you doing? I am Bettina Julian, and welcome to Resume Rescue Office Hours. This is our second month that we are doing this. This is our second one. Yeah! I am so excited. So, before we get started, whoever is here, please let me know where you're coming in from. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Oh, Columbus, Ohio. Hey, Aretha. How are you doing? Excited to see you. Okay, I am going to get started. Aretha, it might be you and I. So let's get started. I won't hold up any longer. I'm doing very good, actually. I'm having a great day. It is sunny here in Florida. And yeah, doing good. Doing good. I had a good day. Busy and good day. So let's just get started. I want to get into resume red flags. So just a reminder to everyone, this is my resume rescue out office hours. I have this every single month on the third Tuesday of the month. Aretha, I am in Orlando, but originally from Florida. Let me make that very clear. I'm not from Florida. I am a through and through Jersey girl, all the way Jersey. Just spent a lot of time here in the Orlando area with my mom. So, okay. So let's get through. Oh, let me share my screen so we can get through this. And listen, guys, if my mom comes in, because I am in her house. So if she comes in the middle of this, it is what it is. Oh, I just visited Jacksonville. I'm not, well, last year I went to the Wu Tang concert, which was amazing. I had such a great time. And I also went to the Jacksonville Jaguars game that same weekend. So I had a great time when I was in Jacksonville. Okay, let me share my screen. Yes, thank you. Thank you for welcoming my mom. Okay, so let's get it. So, like I said, every month, every third Tuesday of the month, I have resume rescue office hours. And really, the purpose of this is we are in a certain state in the job market. This job market is something else. And and people are having trouble, in the interest of people that are looking for jobs, having trouble with their resume, getting callbacks when they submit their applications to companies that have open jobs, as well as people not getting callbacks from an interview after an interview. I really wanted to set a space where people could just come in and ask all kinds of questions, whether it's your resume, to interviews, to your cover letter, to something that's going on at work. I just wanted to provide that space to people because we are in a special job market. People are hiring, but they're not hiring. Like it's kind of that setting, and we're just in that space where something that happened a few years ago in 2020 with the pandemic. That changed our world literally in every space that we could possibly think of. And we have people who are working who are much more vocal about the issues that they have with their employers and the interview process and the hiring process, and organizations that are impacted by all of this and impacted by the loss of revenue from due to the pandemic, and them doing layoffs and yet still hiring. So that's why I provided this space. And just to give you a quick rundown about who I am, if my slide will. Oh, hold on. Guys, I should not be in charge of technology. Okay, hold on. Let me take the music off. That's what I get for putting the music on my slides. Alrighty. Okay, sorry about that. That's why I get, and actually, and I say that I shouldn't be in charge of technology. I really do love tech. Tech being a time, I am definitely a tech geek, but every now and again, something I do something wrong. So, once again, so just about me, my name is Bettina Julian, and I am, like I said before, a through and through Jersey girl, all the way Jersey. I love being from Jersey, but I live in Orlando, Florida, majority of the time. But I am in Jersey a lot too. So my purpose is really to build an army of women who are making an impact at their jobs and making money while doing it. I love to serve women, and I love to serve women in this space. We are underpaid, and we know that. We just celebrated Pay Equity Day last month, and especially women of color, we are getting paid. Black women specifically are getting paid 63 cents on the dollar versus their male counterparts. It's not that I do not serve men. I do serve men as well. I am very happy to serve men and have done that for my entire career. It's just that there's a certain space where women need a lot of help, and I am here to do it. Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to get past some of these slides. And so today we're talking about resume red flags. And a resume, I wanted to define resume, what a resume red flag was. And the red flag refers to triggers within a resume that suggest potential issues or concerns about a candidate's qualifications, experience, suitability suitability for a particular job. Employers and recruiters pay close attention to these red flags during the hiring process to assess the suitability of the candidates. So we all know about red flags. We're all very aware about what a red flag is. We talked about this. We talk about it most of the time in the space of relationships, right? We're always talking about relationship red flags, and it's essentially the same thing when we're thinking about relationship red flags. You're assessing the person that you're on a date with or that you've been dating, and you're assessing them for any red flags that would let you know that they're not a suitable partner for you. Whether that would be anger, they showcase anger, or whatever it is they may showcase that would let you know that this may not be an appropriate this may not be a good match. It's the same thing with your resume. These are red flags that come across on your resume that an employer or recruiter can read into, and they're looking at your resume like, maybe this person may not be suitable for this role or for this company. And it's not that they won't call you or interview you or even hire you. It's just that this adds an extra burden to your. This may not even. I don't want to use definite terms, but these could add an extra burden to your job search. So I really wanted to take the time to go over these and review them with you so you know if you possibly have a red flag, because we're going to go over whether or not some of these items are red flags or not. So whether or not you do have a red flag, and if you do have a red flag, how to mitigate it, how to lessen the potential of someone not calling you or hiring you, or even a way for you to turn that red flag into a green flag. That's really what we're going to talk about. Any questions so far? Any questions, comments, or anything before we jump in? I'm checking. I'm looking at the chat. I know it's delayed. So I'm just looking at the chat to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Okay, so let's hop to it. So actually, before we let me go back. I already messed it up, but before we go there. So how we're gonna do this today is we're actually gonna play, just because I want this to be interactive. I don't want it to just be me talking. So what I really want to do is for us to play a game, And the game is basically called red flag or white flag. And so we're going to go over a couple of what could be a red flag, what could be a red flag, and you guys are going to tell me in the comments if you think it's a red flag or white flag. I'm using a white flag as opposed to a green flag, because simply, everybody has red flags. I want everyone to know that we all have potential red flags on our resume. Whether you have gaps in your career, or if you're a job hopper, or everyone has red flags. So and all of those potential red flags could be turned into a green flag. But I don't want to say that any of these are definite green flags, because none of them are. But some of them, you're probably going to be surprised about my opinion about whether or not something is a red flag, or if it's what I consider neutral. And if you all you got to do is talk a bit past it, for you to turn that flag into green. All right, so let's play the game. Get ready, because I'm not gonna just tell you guys. I'm gonna wait for you guys to let me know what you think, because I really want to know your opinions. Okay, so the first one is grammar and spelling errors. You let me know if this is a red or a white flag. Let me know in the comments. And you can actually use the emoticons to let me know. You put a red flag emoticon or a white flag emoticon. Okay, I'm seeing some reds. I'm seeing some reds. I'm going to check on YouTube, because I also stream on YouTube, and see what everyone on YouTube is saying. Okay, okay. I'm seeing more reds. Okay, I think we got it. I think this was an easy one. This was an easy one. So this is most definitely a red flag. And this one is the only one that I'm going to be discussing today, that there's no fixing this. There's no way to make this a green flag. This has more implications than people actually think. Uh, you Because it looks like you're not paying attention, or you just don't know grammar. It looks like you're bad at writing, and we're in the age of emails and technology and IMing and pinging people. That's how we communicate with our colleagues at work. Oh, that's how we communicate with our colleagues at work. So there's no way to really get past having grammar or spelling errors. It looks bad for you. And it also makes you look like you do not pay attention to detail. So especially, and I think most of us have that communication on our resumes. Most of us have that communication as a skill, and most of us have that attention to detail is a skill, or we have that somewhere on our resume, right? And so if you're saying that I pay attention to detail, or I'm great at communication is a strength, and yet you have grammar errors on your resume, that's not true. So it has having grammar and spelling errors have more implications than people think. And so your best way to avoid this is to run spell check on your resume, but also take your resume and read it out loud. I find so many errors in my own writing every time I read it out loud. I read all my emails out loud to make sure that there's no grammar or spelling out errors in my emails. So take your entire resume and read it out loud. The other benefit to reading your resume out loud is that it helps you get to know your resume even more, because you really should know your resume, because employers are going to ask you questions about your resume. So what I put here are some common business homophone or really sound alike words that I see often on resumes. And so, and not just resumes. When I see people posting online, written communication via email, I see these very commonly misused. And so there's principle and really sound alike word are words that, or homophone is a word that sounds alike. They're spelled differently and they have different meanings. So there's principle and principle, where principle is a standard fundamental truth. Principal is a person, the leader of a school. Effect and effect, accept and accept, there and there, your and your, whether and whether. Of all six of these, the ones that I see the most are two, three, four, five, and six. Those are the ones I see, and not just the most, I see them often. I see this mistake often in resumes and written communication. And you should also consider not just what's on your resume when you're thinking about spelling and grammar error. Think about when you're writing to the recruiter or to the hiring manager. Your cover letter that you're writing, and when you're sending your thank you note when you have interviewed with the company, when you're communicating with the recruiter, about interview scheduling. Think about all of that when you're thinking about communication, any type of written communication, about how to make sure that uh, you do not have any spelling or grammar errors. Uh, so the next one is red or white flag if you have over 10 years of work experience. What do you think this is? Do you think this is a red or a white flag? Uh-oh, what happened? I'm having all kinds of tech issues today. Can you guys still see my screen? I hope so. There we go. Okay, all right, perfect. So I see Aretha, you're saying red. Anybody else? So what does anybody else think about having over 10 years of work experience? Is that a red or a white flag? Okay, being D, you say a white flag. Okay, I have some white flags here. Okay, everybody ready for the answer? Or at least my opinion? Because really, these are what I think and what I've seen. Not just what I think, but what I've seen happen in my years in HR. So I believe this is a I believe this is a red flag, and I'll tell you why. And it shouldn't be. Oh, so let me explain for anyone that's late. A white flag is neutral. So we all know what a red flag is. A white flag is neutral. Like it's okay. It's okay to have 10 years of experience on your resume. Okay, so I think having over 10 years of experience on your resume is a red flag. And the reason why I think it's a red flag is because it's not so, it's not something that's honored any longer. It used to be. But right now, if you have over 10 years of experience, there's ageism, and it's real. Ageism is so real. I have over 10 years of experience, and I've seen it happen time and time and time again in my own experience and with my clients' experience and people that I associate with as well. It's use it, and especially with the technology changes, when you have over 10 years of experience in a certain area, and technology makes changes, it's usually the people who have 10 years of experience that have a hard time with change. They have a hard time relearning this new technology and moving forward in their career. So organizations would prefer someone who has less experience, that is younger, that they can pay less uh, for the roles that they have. Now, if you're looking at a job description and you see that the job description says we need 12 years of experience, that's the requirement. So, because there are some roles out there that I have seen that say we want 12 to 15 years of experience. That's great. Now, but your resume should not have more than 15 years of experience. If you have more than 15 years of experience, your resume should match. If you have more experience than what the resume says, your resume should match what the experience on the job description. If the job description is asking for more than 10 years, if it's asking for 5 years, I say stop at 10. If it's asking for 5 years, but just be aware that they're asking for 5 years, that there's a chance that you may not get a call, or it's going to be less pay than what you want if you have over 10 years of experience. How far back do I recommend? I recommend no further back than 10 on your resume, because you don't need that much experience. I mean, you don't need that much on your resume. Relevant. So on your resume, it should be relevant experience only to that specific role. So if you're applying to all kinds of different roles, your resume should reflect your experience for that specific role. Now, if you're applying for a job and the experience that you had was over 10 years ago, then you're going to have to show that. But we're going to talk about how I'm going to go over how you these bullet points here, or how you can make it not look like you have 10 years of experience, even though you're saying you have over 10 years of experience. Yes. So 2014 to now. Yes, exactly. So one of the things to get past this, because it's not like you're not going to get a call if you have over 10 years of experience. I have 20 years. So just to let everybody know, I have 20 years of experience in HR, 20 years of experience in HR total, and 11 years of experience as a consultant, and 11 and probably about 13 years of experience in HR technology. So I am in this bucket. So if I'm applying to roles, I fall into this red flag. And so what I do, and what I know that other people do, and what I do for the clients who I create their resumes, I focus on skills and achievements, because that's our strength. When we have all of this experience, we have seen all of the changes that have happened within a career, within a role, or within a function. We've seen all the different changes that have happened. So focus on your skills and your achievements. Use a functional resume format. What that is that's a format that is not chronological, and chronological is in order. So basically, from your most recent experience to your oldest experience is a chronological resume. Your functional resume is going to be focused on your skills or your function. Highlight recent experience. So don't go back further than 10 years. And sell the season star player. And what I mean by the season star player is that if we think about sports, I'm a huge sports fan. I love basketball and football. And we think about, if you are a sports fan, or if you've ever watched if you heard any kind of news about sports, you'll notice that one of the star players, like LeBron James, for example, LeBron James is still playing, but he doesn't play at the same capacity that he played when he first entered the NBA, or when he was en route trying to win an NBA championship. He is more a coach. So at the time when you're a seasoned star player, you're still playing, you're still in the game, you still do well, you're still the star. But part of your function is you're coaching and mentoring the person who's going to replace you, or you're coaching and mentoring the younger players. So in your interview, and in your cover letter, and in your professional summary, you're selling about your mentorship, your coaching, and your leadership skills that you have gained over this time, in this 10 to however long period of time. Make sense, everyone? Everyone following me? Let me know. Let's say, put a heart in the chat if everyone's good. Okay. Okay, awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So now our next one Is red or white flag if you have over 6 months of gaps in your career? Let me know if it's red or white flag if you have over 6 months of gaps in your career. For any questions, please hold that question because we are going to have a question. I'm almost finished, and we're the rest of the time is going to be spent on question and answers. So I starred your question, but just in case I lose it, please copy and paste it so you can when you can so you can ask it again when we're in Q&A. Okay, I see some red flags. How about everybody else? Anybody else have an opinion about whether or not gap over 6 months gap in your career is a red or white flag? And by white, for anyone that has joined late, this is neutral or it's okay. It's not a huge problem. Okay, I see some more reds. All right, let's see. Let's see what it is. I call this a white flag, and that's an unpopular opinion. However, I think and I have seen at this point, it used to be a huge red flag. People used to judge you, and early in my career, I had gaps on my resume. People used to judge you, but now with people in these days, people understand that there is medical reasons why people have gaps in their career. Mothers and fathers take the time off to take care of their children, their newborns, and take care of their family, and so they'll stop working in order to do that. There's people go back to school. People go traveling, like to world experiences. They'll go for a year sabbatical and they'll travel, and especially now that the globe is so much smaller. A long time ago, it was hard for us to communicate with someone across the globe. Now, with especially with remote work being more popular, and now that we have the capability to communicate with our colleagues easier through online technology, now your coworker could be in a different country. Your coworker could be in Europe, in Africa, in Asia Pacific, all over the world. And in those countries, they take sabbaticals. They take time off. It's not like the United States where we're a work country. Other countries do not function like that. So it's more common to see gaps in your career. The other reason why I believe this is a white flag is because you don't, as an HR person, you don't want to put someone in the predicament of having to say I had a medical issue, because now we're getting into legal issues of someone reporting you to Department of Labor. We don't want to make someone feel like they have to say I was sick for 1 year, because that could bring about certain bias. And if you make a decision to not hire that person because they were sick for 1 year, and you don't want that to impact your company, now you're dealing with bias and possible discrimination against people with disabilities. So less and less will you find people asking about your gaps. However, if you do come across this, because there are some old school people that still think that this is a red flag, even though it's really not. Here are some ways that you can lessen the impact of this. You can use years instead of months. I used to use this all the time when I was early in my career. Um, I used years in my work experience. When you say I worked for Foot Locker, and I worked for Foot Locker from June 2015 to January 2017, as opposed to having the months, I would just put 2015 to 2017, leave it at that. Or if it was, so I would just do that. Another way you can do it is you can explain the gaps. I'm not a huge fan of this because I believe it adds extra information to your resume that is unnecessary, but I have seen it. That's a personal preference that I don't like seeing this on resumes. So I'm not going to tell you to not do this. It's just my personal preference to not see it. But in your work experience, if you have large gaps, you can explain that. So just like you have that you work for Foot Locker from January 2015 to January 2017, if you had a gap in between Foot Locker and your next company, let's say you took the whole 2018 off for school, for not, let me not use school, for to take care of your family, to be a caregiver, you could put that in your resume, caregiver 2000, January 2018 to December 2018, traveling, or for whatever time period. So you can actually put that as part of your work experience as well. If it's for education purposes, if your gap is because of education, as long as your education is on your resume, which it should be, a recruiter or a hiring manager is going to see that there was this gap. There was a 2-year gap, but they were in school getting their masters during this time. You can also group by function. I like this methodology a lot, and you can use the group by function for the over 10 years as well, as opposed to you're putting the focus on the function as opposed to the job. Because really, if we think about it, where you worked is not is not the huge thing. Where you worked in the past is not what everyone's looking for. What recruiters and hiring managers are looking for are your accomplishments and what you have done. So if you have been, so for example, myself, I've been in HR technology all for 15 years. So as opposed to saying I worked at Foot Locker, then I worked at Jatoza, then I worked at this company, and that, as opposed to saying that, I would just have HR consultant, and I would list all of the things I've done, all of the things I've accomplished. And I would go to the next role, recruiter, and I would list all the things I accomplished. And then towards the bottom is where I would actually list the companies in a small section. I would list the companies that I worked at and the dates that I worked there too. So there's less of a focus on where I worked, and more of a focus on what I did. You can also group by skill. Same thing. So as opposed to using function, you group by the skill. Out of all of these, my favorite is group by function, and using years, not months. That they look like regular resumes. It's not odd when you see, when it's not odd when you see people using this on their resume. I think it's a little odd to do explaining the gaps, but that is a method. Okay, everyone okay? Let me check. I'm gonna check on you guys. Let me know you guys are okay. Though throw a heart in the chat if you're okay, please. Okay. All right, good. Okay, you guys are still with me. Okay, perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay. So now the next one is job hopping. Is this a red or white flag? And by job hopping, I mean someone that has on their resume that I worked at one company for 3 months. Then I left there. I went to a different company and I was there for 6 months. Then I left there. I was on another company for 1 year. That's what I mean by hopping. You have very short time periods of time with companies. Do you think that's a red or a white flag? Did I lose you guys? Hold on. Or maybe there's just a lag. Okay, I'm not sure if everyone's still there, but I'm going to just go into the answer to this. And job hopping, to me, is a white flag. You can't see it, so I'm just going to tell you that I think it's a white flag. And the reason why I think it's a white flag is because it happens so much more now than it used to in the past. In the past, job people used to stay at their company for decades. You would hear people that was there for 20 at the same company for 20 years and 30 years, sometimes 40 years that they spent most of their entire adult life with the same company. That's not so any longer. Uh, Many people are, in order to get higher pay or to advance in the corporate world, many people hop. They change from job to job. And it's not so much of a bias now. It's more normalized in today's job market. And it and when I was early in my career, it was starting to become more normalized, but still was an issue. But now with Gen Z, they don't accept too much. There's not too much in the workforce that Gen Z accepts with their employers. So they don't have much of a problem with leaving a company and going to the next. So there's not so much bias as there used to be with job hopping. However, if you want to lessen the blow, in case you do come across someone that finds that to be a bias, because what the bias could be, what an employer could think is that you are not going to spend time with them. They're going to spend all this money recruiting you and training you and paying you, and only within a few months you're going to leave the company. So that's what they could see if they look at your resume. So one of the things that I would suggest, the number one thing, and I don't have it on here, but if you only have one job that you spent, like, let's say 3 months there and you quit, let's say you worked there, it was a toxic environment, you didn't want to stay there any longer and you left, and that was only a one-time occurrence, I just would not put that on my resume. There's no need to put that on your resume. So just don't. That's the number one suggestion. However, I like to use the acronym of FLEX. So making sure you're being flexible with your skills. Basically, flex. When I say flex, I mean like pop your collar, flex your skills throughout your resume, so you look like a great candidate. So regardless of what they think about your history of job hopping, your skills are so prominent on your resume that they still want to talk to you. There's no applicant tracking system that's going to knock you out because you are a job hopper. So the only way that you're going to get knocked out because you're a job hopper is because the recruiter has an issue with it or the hiring manager has an issue with it. So you flex your skills in your resume and flex your skills when you're speaking to someone, when you're speaking to the recruiter and you're speaking to the hiring manager. You're going to list your experience. So highlight your experience using non-chronological formatting. So we spoke about that already with the other format type that's non-chronological. You're gonna list and group by your function or by your skills. You're going to explain your history. And by explaining your history, I mean explain why you're a job hopper if they're asking you specifically, or you can even say it in your when they ask you, "Hey, Bettina, tell me about yourself," or "Hey, Layla, tell me about yourself." What you're going to say in that is you can say, "Well, I build teams, and prior to this, my prior four positions, I built up their department. I hired the people. I built the team. I created structure." You're going to explain that. You're going to explain in your summary about yourself, about what you do, what your skill is. And just to give you guys a quick story about this, my first job out of college, my first real job, because I graduated during a time like what we're in right now, where there was no jobs and high competition. Uh, but my first real job out of college, when I went to interview for that job, I went there. I went to interview, and the HR director was the person who was interviewing me. And during that interview, he gave me his whole explanation. He gave me a rundown. He told me about himself, and he said specifically that I fix teams, I fix HR departments, and he told me he had only been at that company for about 5 or 6 months, and he also told me I'm probably not going to be here past 1 year because that's what I do. I go into a company, I fix their HR department, I fix the problem, I build up the team, and I move on to the next company. That he told me that exactly. So I learned from that moment that job hopping was okay, even back then. So make it a part of your explanation about yourself so they know that I'm not just flaky. I don't just leave companies. I don't do that. This is what I do. And then explain the experience that they're going to get when they hire you. So what are you going to bring to the company when they hire you? So you can make them forget about the fact that you're a job hopper if you follow this flex methodology. Okay, I think that's my last one. That was four. Yes, it is. That was my last one. Yes, that was exciting. So it took longer than I expected to, but that's okay. We can spend extra time if there's enough questions. So I will stop sharing my screen, and I want to get into questions. So please, actually, I'm going to hold on. I'm going to get the link. So if you guys, I'm going to answer the question I was already asked in the chat, but I'm going to post a link in the chat. And if you guys click that link, it'll bring you into my room that I'm in, my web room. And then turn your camera on and you turn your mic on, and then we'll be able to chat live. So I can really get to know what the issue and what your question is. Okay, so I am going to post it there. Let me go into Facebook. And why isn't this sending? Okay. I can't send a LinkedIn for some reason. So sorry, LinkedIn people. Okay. Sorry. Oh, hold on. Okay. Sorry about me and my. Okay. We're good, right? Okay. Okay. So question number one was the majority of my experience. Actually, I'm going to show it. The majority of my experience in between 95 and 2001 job 4 years taking a parent and had a business for the last 5 years. My current employer, with my current employer, how do I exhibit those skills and my experience from my first employer? So I can see your name because as you can see, I'm showing up the screen and as you can see, actually, you see, oh, how can I pull up your name? Camel, Camel. I don't want to because people know my name and I'm not that. Selena, thank you. I don't like to mess up my name. I'm not going to do that to you. But how I would do that is I would miss the experience. So I would, when I discussed group by function, I would do it that way, where you group the things that you have done, the functions, the job. So if your job was executive assistant and you've had multiple roles as executive assistant, I would put executive assistant and I would put all the things that I've accomplished and have done as executive assistant. And then towards the bottom, right before education is where I would put the actual jobs. So my focus would be more on what I did as opposed to the companies I worked for. So don't use the typical chronological order resume in your work experience section. Instead of grouping by company, group it by your function. Does that make sense, Selena? Wait, so I've been using templates. I really well, actually, hold on. I hope that makes sense, Layla. Okay, perfect. Okay, so Layla, I've been using templates and my resume dates back to 2000. So should I start from 2014 to present? And my is 1998, and I have gone back in 2016, 2018. How do I navigate that? Or like, how do I want you to enter that? I'm gonna enter my background so I can get more context on this. I'm gonna show it. I've been using templates and my resume dates back to 2000. So should I start from 2014 to present? And my is 1990. I have gone back in 2016 to 2018. How do I navigate that, please? Okay. So let me know if I'm correct in this, Layla. Or you can join, or Layla, you can click that link to join the back room. But I'm what I think I'm reading here is that you have experience that goes back to the year 2000, and you're asking if you should, as opposed to going back to 2000, start your experience from 2014 to present, even though your degree is from 1990. Am I understanding that correctly? That's I just I just figured out what my issue was. Here is Layla. You still there? I just threw this in the chat in case you want to join. But just to move forward in case you left or in case my technical issues call. Okay, hey Layla. So that was correct. Okay, perfect. So what I would do for you is I would really just only go back to 2014. If the majority of your experience, I'm not sure what your career is in, like what your role has been, what you have experience in. But let's just say most of your experience has been in um, project management, and in the year 2000, you weren't doing project management. Instead, you were an executive assistant. and you want to go back to becoming an executive assistant, but the last time you worked as an executive assistant was 2000, that's where you would use, instead of the chronological order, you would use what we call a functional resume, and you would group by function. So group by, you would say project manager, do, list all your accomplishments, but make sure that the accomplishments, and you would talk about the organization of being, like how you organize meetings, how you made processes flow. But anyway, that's not your question, but regardless of that, you would say project manager, you would list all your accomplishments and your achievements, and then you would say executive assistants, you would list everything you did as executive assistant, and down at the bottom is where you would list the actual jobs down to 2000 and put in the years. So again, the focus is on the function and not on the job that you have done. If that's not the case, if you're like me, where your whole career has been in one area, my whole career has been in human resources, I would just start in 2014. My resume might even start in 2016. Even though my work history goes back to 2000 as well. So most of my work history from 2000 to 2008, I don't want to say it didn't matter, because that was the groundwork. That was my what do they call the bottom of the house? I can't think of the term that they call it. That was my foundation. So I don't want to say it wasn't important. That was my foundation. So it was important. However, you don't. Everyone doesn't need to know that. They don't need to know what your foundation was. So if your entire history has been in the same area of business, you've been in marketing for all of this time, then I would just start at 2014. And it's okay that your degree says 1998. That's no big deal. Don't lie. Still put 1998. And that if the 2016 to 2018 means you had a gap because of education, if you have a 2 year gap in your employment because of education, then the fact that you have your education, whatever degree or certificate that you attained from 2016 to 2018, make sure that's on your resume, so the employer can see that, because they can see that she wasn't working for 2 years. She wasn't working from 2016 to 2018. That's okay, because she was in school. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions, or if that made sense. I hope that was helpful. Any other questions? Any other questions, comments? Okay, all right, great. Great, Layla. Okay, so does anybody have any other questions about anything else? Again, it doesn't have to specifically be about resumes. It could be about an interview. It could be, I mean, performance reviews are over, so you guys are not going to, you guys aren't in that time of the year. So, but if you did have a question about how to bring something up to your manager, it could be any of this sort, but let me know. But we are at 7:30 anyway. So if there are no questions, I will most definitely end it here, because I value people's time. So I'll take a quick check through the different social media platforms, and we'll see. I was very delayed on YouTube. Okay. All right. I think that's it. I think that's everything. Well, thank you, everyone. Let me see. Being D, effective ways to answer and tell me about yourself. Oh, what's an effective way to answer the tell me about yourself question? Uh, so, one thing that you should do is you should write it down, right? So you can memorize it. It should be about 3 to 5, yeah, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, if even that. And the most effective way is to start from where you began and how you got to where you are here. So I like to say, because I'm in human resources and because I know that having a human resources degree is rare, most people end up in human resources. Not too many people had the intention to go into human resources from the beginning of their career. So I usually start with that to surprise people. So anything that's a surprise, anything that you know about yourself that is going to surprise, that is a good thing and is going to surprise, be a pleasant surprise to the potential employer, I would use that. So I would say, I went to Rice University and I majored in human resources management, graduated with my bachelor's, and then I would go through my history. Now, where I start in my history is key to what I'm applying to. If I'm applying to, so because I changed careers in the middle of my maybe about 6 or 7 years into my HR career. I switched from HR, regular HR that most of you know about, benefits, HR managers, employee relations, recruiting, payroll. I did all of that early in my career, and I switched careers into HR technology. So if I'm applying to a job that is the typical HR function, I would start in my tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself. I would start very early in my career. So I would start with all of the functions I did: employee relations, recruiter, payroll. I would start there, and I would stop before I went into HR consulting. But I would tell them what I'm doing currently. I would tell them this is what I'm doing now. But what I'm telling them about what I'm doing now is I'm highlighting the part that's going to impact them. I'm not going to talk about all of the career coaching that I do. I'm not going to talk about all of the HR technology things that I do. I'm going to talk about the recruiting that I do and the other HR functions that I do currently. I'm going to make that spin. If I'm applying to a role that's in HR consulting, I'm not going to start early in my career. I'm going to just tell them that I have started my career in HR. I sat in most seats in an HR department, and then I switched to HR technology. And I would tell them about all the work I've done in HR technology. So I focus on that. And I sometimes I throw in a personal thing. Like I always tell them that I'm from Jersey. I always tell them that I love Jersey and I'm proud of Jersey because it makes people laugh. So anything that you can do to showcase your personality, anything that you can do to showcase something that is rare, that's rare about you, anything that you can do to showcase how great your great communication skills and great and other skills that are great is a great way to kick off that tell me about yourself question. But the most important thing is to write the answer to that question down, because everybody asks you. We all know everybody asks you that question. So write the answer to your question down so you have pretty much the same answer every time somebody asks you that question. So you don't have to worry, you don't have to be concerned about it. You know what you're going to say. You just spit it out very easily and very smoothly with your amazing communication skills. Okay, you're welcome. I appreciate you guys for coming out. I really do. I appreciate you guys for spending time with me today, and I appreciate you wanting to advance in your careers. It is so important. It is so important to get the money that we want and make the impact that we have the ability to make in our companies. Whether you are an entrepreneur or whether you are working for a company, it really doesn't matter here, because we all are making impacts to the people that we work with every single day. So I appreciate you guys wanting to better yourselves. So you have a great night. And again, I have these every third Tuesday of the month at the same time, same place. I'll see you guys later. Bye.